Chapter 35 The Gnolls. The next morning, the party went to try to see William, the Castellan. But before they headed out, John and Bill had some good news for everyone. John, Bill and I have finally achieved the first progression. We're now officially warriors, and we owe it all to all of you. Lightmane, that's great, guys. Congratulations. Everyone congratulated them as they approached the main gate to the back area. Lightmane, speaking to the guards there, we're here to see William, the Castellan. Guard, William is busy and cannot be bothered right now. Besides, no one is allowed in the back area of the keep without an invitation of some kind. Latia, we spoke with William yesterday, and he told us that he'd meet with us again. Can you please tell him that we are here? Guard, I'm sorry, but no. But when I see him, I'll tell him that you came here looking for him, though I might not see him until much later today. Frustrated, they went to the temple, hoping that William had spoken to one of the clerics, but the cleric there said that no one had told them anything yet. Latia, William said he'd get back to us, but he didn't. Now what do we do? Nightwind, head back to the caves. What else? Latia, and just leave Ken here? Nightwind, yes. Maybe we'll find more treasure. No point in staying around here. Latia couldn't argue with that, so they told the temple and Marcus where they were headed, got their wheelbarrow out of the warehouse, and headed back to the Valley of Caves. Lightmane could see how frustrated Latia was, and tried his best to make her feel better. Perhaps he just needs a day or two to think through all of his options, and then he'll contact us. We have, 6-7 days left? Don't worry. We'll find a way to pay for the raise dead spell. Latia, wait, the magic sword. Lightmane, what? Latia, the undead slayer that we found in the moat house. Jack's mentor told us it's worth a lot of money. Jack, yes, but he also said that getting someone to believe it's what we say it is will probably be very difficult, and then we've got to find someone willing to pay that kind of money for it. It's only powerful against undead. It's just a normal broadsword against everything else. The party had just left the keep and wasn't even at the East Road yet when Latia had an idea. Latia, let's go back and ask Marcus. Maybe he can sell it for us. Jack, sure, maybe, but what if there's a temple in the valley and it's crawling with undead? Latia, oh, I hadn't thought of that. I guess we should hold on to it for now? Jack, yeah, I think so. Besides, we'll probably be back here in a day or two. We can go show it to Marcus and Margaret then and see what they think. Latia, okay, thanks, Jack. You're thinking much more clear-headed than I am right now, she said, smiling. Jack, smiling back. That's me, Practical Jack. The party had no encounters on the road back to the valley. This time, they decided to follow the road around to the north and entered the valley from the east end. Belfin, so climb up the south side and head to the back area where we saw a cave, or just go straight back? Tenneth, good question. I'm worried the cave up high and in the back is the temple, so maybe we should walk straight back first. Lightmane, you mean go where the chieftains told their people not to go? Tenneth, oh yeah, you're right. Also, we don't want Gluguk to see us either. He must think we broke the truce. Hope he doesn't attack anyone on the road, let alone us. I sure wish we had Ken with us right now, so we could go talk to him and explain what happened. But without Ken, there's no point. So let's hope he doesn't see us. We should have just climbed up in the woods like before. How about we climb up here and walk over to the Hobgoblin Cave and see what we can see from there? The party tried that and climbed up the southern valley and then went west to the Hobgoblin Cave. But all they could see from there was the Bugbear Cave straight across to the north, and the other cave that they saw before that was southwest and high up in the valley. Phileas, for all we know, that could be the temple. Some said that the caves further back and higher up were the worst. I say we go back down and see what's down there. They climbed back down to the north and decided to head west to the back part of the valley. About 100 feet down, a cave and a large wooden sign that was maybe 30 feet south of the cave came into view. There was also a bell above the sign, and Lightmane could see and read everything from here. Lightmane, okay guys, you ready for this? The letters are carved into the sign. The letters on the left of the sign are painted red. and it says, the lair of Tornek the Magnificent. And there's an arrow pointing up and to the right. The letters in the middle are painted black and are under the bell, and it says, ring bell for service. And the letters on the right are painted blue, and it says, the lair of Isabel the Beautiful. And there's an arrow pointing to the right, towards that cave. Shinfia, do you see any other caves? Lightmane, looking around. Yes, there's one right where the arrow is pointing. It's behind this cave and higher up. Obviously. But I also see another cave straight back and higher up. It's further back and higher than the other cave. What do you all make of this? The party got closer to where everyone could read the sign. Shinfia, is someone trying to mess with adventurers? The lair of Tornek the Magnificent and Isabel the Beautiful? Huh? What's that all about? So Tornek is a guy and Isabel is a girl. Ring bell for service. So if you want them, you ring the bell? Why would anyone do that? Teneth, maybe the bell is for a service in the temple? Latia, ooh, so maybe the clerics ring the bell to call the chieftains? That could make sense, but I'm clueless as to who or what Tornek and Isabel are. What a weird sign. I think its purpose is to confuse people, mess with our minds maybe. Phileas, so is that the temple straight back, or is the temple over to our left? Both are high up and in the back. Belfin, I'm guessing the temple is the one straight back, so that would mean that the one to our left is the Gnoll Cave. So do you guys want to go to what we think is the Gnoll Cave, or would you rather we go visit Tornek or Isabel? Latia, the one straight back isn't as high up as the one over there, so either could be a Gnoll Cave or the temple, as far as I'm concerned. Shinfia, well, we've finally found all 11 caves. 6 down, 5 to go. Which one shall we go to first? Phileas, smiling now. Want to roll one of my dice and let fate determine where we go next? Latia, ooh, interesting idea, Phil, but we're not going to that bugbear cave. And I'd say Isabel over Tornek, so that leaves 3 caves. Phileas, okay, 6-sided die or 12-sided die? Nightwind, 12. Phileas, leave it to the dwarf to just decide quickly. Okay, 12 it is. Latia, how are you going to roll a die here? Phileas, with this nice little tray to roll dice in. I bought it when I bought the dice. I've been wanting to do this, but we've never had a decision like this where a dice roll could determine our fate. So, 1 to 4 is Isabel, 5 to 8 is the cave straight back, and 9 to 12 is the cave to the south. Okay? Everyone agreed. Phileas rolled the die, and it came up a 12. Phileas, okay then, the die has spoken quite clearly. The cave we should go to next is the one high up to the south. Let's just hope it's a Gnoll Cave and not the temple. Belfin, if it's the temple, we don't go in. Simple. Phileas, what if there's lots of undead just inside and they see us? Belfin, that's a lot of doom and gloom for one who leaves their fate to a die roll. Phileas, good point. The die says go there. Let's go. Latia, smiling now. If this works out, I say from now on we just let Phileas roll a die to make all of our decisions for us. Phileas, smiling back. Sounds good to me. The party climbed up the valley to the south and approached the cave entrance. Latia, just so you all know, I'm trying a different level 2 spell called Earth Devil. It summons a weak earth elemental. I'm hoping that more offense means less need for healing. Teneth, ooh, that sounds quite interesting. Hope we get to see it fight. Jack, any chance it attacks one of us by mistake or something? Latia, no. Well, as far as I know, no. Jack, wondering if he should be concerned now. As far as you know. Well, here's hoping you're right. The party entered the cave. Inside the entrance was an actual cave, around 20 to 25 feet, that was roughly circular, with a passage going west. As they stood near the entrance and looked around, a gnoll fired an arrow at them and then called out. It hit Lightmane's armor. Lightmane sheathed his sword and grabbed his bow, while Nightwind grabbed one of his 2 throwing hammers, while Latia fired an arrow, hitting the gnoll in his side, hurting him. Hearing the gnoll call out, Teneth chose to cast his curse spell, while Jack cast magic missile. The henchmen dropped the wheelbarrow and readied their sword and shield, while Shinfia moved into the cave and then moved to her left and grabbed her bow. Jack's magic missile hit the gnoll that Latia hit, and Tennant's curse spell went off. The gnoll fired a second arrow, but it hit Nightwind's shield. Latia fired another arrow, but missed. Nightwind threw a hammer, hitting the gnoll, wounding him badly. Two more gnolls with bows appeared, and they all fired. One arrow caught Shinfia in her side. She fired an arrow that hit the badly wounded gnoll, dropping him. Lightmane hit one, as did Latia. Phileas threw a dagger, and Belfin used his sling, but both missed. The gnolls each fired another arrow, and one of them hit Lightmane in his side. Everyone fired another missile at the gnolls, including John and Bill, who threw daggers. One of the gnolls fell, and the other, wounded now, turned and fled. They went to fire missiles again, but the gnoll was fast and quickly was out of their sight. There was a torch burning on a wall in a room beyond the cave, dimly lighting up the place, and Lightmane saw the gnoll run beyond that room into the darkness and turn right. The two gnolls had 13 copper coins and 7 silver. They used longbows and had flails. They thought about taking the weapons, but decided to wait and maybe take them on their way out. The cave that they were in was empty, so they moved west down a passage which went maybe 10 feet before opening into a 30 by 30 room, the room with the torch burning on the south wall in the eastern section. In the center of the room was a large table with 4 chairs, with salted meat, cheese, 4 mugs, and a small barrel of ale on it. In the northwest corner was a barrel of water and a small crate with more food. Several hides and pelts were on the floor by the south wall. On the north wall, on the eastern section, was a large piece of round wood that was pretty flat, with several arrows in it. There were markings on the wood, breaking it into sections. Some of the sections were small and narrow, others were bigger and wider. There was also a small table up against the north wall that had several badly battered mugs on it, with several more lying on the ground. Several rocks were on the ground nearby as well. Latia: interesting room. Is that piece of wood on the wall being used as target practice, or is it a game of some kind? Nightwind: maybe both. Same with the mugs on the table. I'd say let's see who can hit the narrow space on the wood, but we better go see where that gnoll went. Perhaps we can play a game or two later, he said, smiling. Latia: Nightwind, after we destroy everything here, Shin and I will gladly play against any of you, she said, smiling back. Shinfia: sounds like a plan. Let's go around that corner and see what we see. It was dark around the corner, so Belfin lit a torch. The passageway went north for 30 feet, and then continued down some stairs. Nightwind: we're clearly climbing down into the valley now. Interesting place. The passage continued north for 20 feet and then opened up to the left, but it also turned east, but angled down towards the south. At this intersection, the party was fired on from both directions. Fortunately, Nightwind's armor protected him well, but an arrow caught Lightmane in his side, doing a fair amount of damage. Nightwind turned and charged at the gnolls that were down the eastern passage, while Lightmane fired an arrow, hitting a gnoll. Tenneth cast another curse spell, while Jack cast Sleep, targeting the area to the north. Latia cast her Earth Devil spell and moved to help Nightwind, leaving enough space for Belfin and Phileas to fire their missiles. Belfin's sling attack damaged the gnoll. Shinfia fired her bow, dropping the wounded gnoll, as Jack's sleep spell caused 4 female gnolls to the north to collapse just as they were getting ready to throw axes. One female was still standing and threw her axe, which hit Jack, causing him to cry out in pain. 4 more gnolls down the north passage fired arrows, and one of them hit Lightmane, causing him to cry out in pain. Lightmane and Shinfia each fired another arrow and killed another gnoll. 3 males and 1 female gnoll were still standing down the north passage, and they moved up to engage the party in melee, while Latia called for help down the eastern passage. Seeing how badly injured Lightmane was, John and Bill moved up to engage the gnolls, while Tenneth cast Cure Light Wounds on Lightmane, who cast his sleep spell, targeting it down the east passage, in an attempt to help Latia and Nightwind. Shinfia moved up, looked down the eastern passage, strapped her bow on her back, and moved to help Nightwind. Latia's Earth Devil spell went off, and a small earth elemental appeared next to her. She sent it to attack one of the gnolls that was coming at her. The eastern passage slanted down for 30 feet before continuing further, but also turned northeast. There were 6 gnolls down the eastern passage, 2 of which were now in melee with Nightwind, while 2 more ran up to attack Latia, and now also Shinfia. John and Bill both hit the gnolls on them, doing a decent amount of damage, but the gnolls hit them back, and now they were both badly injured and cried out in pain. Lightmane's sleep spell caused 2 gnolls further down the eastern passage to collapse. Jack cast magic missile at the one on John, and it fell. Nightwind hit one of the gnolls on him, and they both missed the dwarf. Shinfia hit a gnoll, but the gnoll also hit her, injuring her badly. Latia's earth elemental hit a gnoll, and her sword hit it too, killing it. She then turned to help Shinfia. Tenneth moved up and switched with John, while Lightmane, who was now somewhat healed, switched with Bill. Further down the eastern corridor were several females, but they moved into the northern passage, as 3 large gnolls came from further down the eastern passage with several females behind them. Nightwind killed one of the gnolls on him, while they both missed him again, as his plate armor and shield was providing him with a most excellent defense. Latia and Shinfia both hit the gnoll on them, but her earth elemental missed this time. But the gnoll hit Shinfia again, and she fell. Tenneth hit the gnoll on him, injuring him badly. Lightmane missed, but the gnoll on him also missed. Now there was 1 on Tenneth and 1 on Lightmane down the northern passage, with 1 female behind them, who accidentally woke up one of the other female gnolls. Seeing her wake up, she went around waking up the other 3 females. Lightmane, darn it, she's waking them up. Tenneth, how did she know to do that? Lightmane, I don't think she did. I think she woke one up by accident. We're in trouble. Lightmane swung his sword and cut into the gnoll good, but somehow it didn't fall, as it cried out in pain. The gnoll swung back, and Lightmane fell, as its flail got him good. Lightmane was still conscious when he fell, but was in no condition to stand, let alone fight anymore. Tenneth hit the gnoll on him, dropping it. The female gnolls started to move to attack as they woke up, but Belfin moved up to help Tenneth, while Phileas took a risk and cast Sleep, hoping that Tenneth and Belfin would not be affected by his spell. He was right, and 4 of the female gnolls fell asleep again. The 1 remaining turned to try to wake them up again, but Phileas and Belfin both engaged her, preventing it. Nightwind's attack missed this time, and the gnoll on him hit him with his flail, smashing into his armor. The strength of the attack was able to do damage to him. The female struck Belfin, but the halfling hit her back, injuring her badly. John and Bill were able to maneuver around and attacked. John's sword killed the female on Belfin. They then started killing the sleeping gnolls. The gnoll on Tenneth, though, hit him this time, hurting him pretty bad, as did the one on Latia. Latia's earth elemental attacked the gnoll and hit it, wounding it badly. Belfin and Phileas engaged the gnoll on Tenneth and told him to start casting healing spells and to heal himself. The gnoll hit Belfin, knocking him down. He got back up, though, as John and Bill moved to help Phileas. Latia and Nightwind both killed the gnoll on them and now faced the 3 large gnolls that were coming at them. 2 stood 6 feet 9 inches tall, and the other stood 7 feet tall, and his armor had pieces of plate in it, which clearly gave him better protection. He was clearly the gnoll chieftain. They all had large shields, and behind them were 4 large females who stood as tall as a normal male. The gnoll chieftain said nothing. He just attacked the dwarf, while the other 2 moved to attack Latia and the earth elemental. Further down the eastern passage stood many females. As the big gnolls moved to attack, though, they bumped into the sleeping males, which woke them up. Belfin had laid his torch in the intersection, allowing some light down both passages. Tenneth, seeing the large gnolls, started casting Hold Person, targeting all 3 of them. The gnoll in the north passage hit John, dropping him, but the others attacked and killed it, and then started binding the wounds of Lightmane and John. Tenneth's Hold Person spell went off, but only the gnoll on the Latia stopped moving, which made her quite happy to see. She swung at the gnoll that was attacking her earth elemental, but he blocked with his shield and swung at her, and his flail smashed into her, and she fell. Fortunately, she was still conscious, but just barely, and she just laid there. Jack was out of spells and was helping bind wounds, but when he heard Latiya scream and Tenneth call for help, he ran over and engaged one with Tenneth. Nightwind swung and hit the gnoll chieftain, but he swung back and hit Nightwind, damaging him pretty good. Tenneth hit the gnoll on him, but Jack missed, as did the earth elemental. Fortunately for Tenneth, though, he was able to block the gnoll's attack. Phileas cast sleep, and 5 females down the east passage collapsed, but seeing how the males woke up when bumped into, one of the females started waking them all back up. Latiya crying out, "Get out of here! There's too many! We're done for!" Latiya then collapsed, and when she collapsed, the earth elemental just faded out. Jack missed again, but Tenneth hit the gnoll, almost killing it, but this time the gnoll hit Jack and he fell. Nightwind hit the chieftain again, almost killing him, but the chieftain's flail smashed into the dwarf and Nightwind fell. Belfin, Phileas, and Bill came to help, but did not like what they saw. Tenneth was now facing down a large gnoll and the gnoll chieftain. Both were badly injured, but Tenneth was wounded too. Latiya, Shinfia, and Nightwind were all lying on the ground. Beyond the 2 gnolls stood 2 more males and maybe a dozen female gnolls, 4 of which were larger than the others. Knowing they were probably going to die, they all still chose to move up and attack. Just then, everyone heard a very loud roar that came down the southern passage where the party had come from. It sounded something like a lion's roar. Everyone stopped and looked as Latiya, the great white puma, with Tico riding her, came around the corner and engaged the gnolls. Tico jumped off. Latiya leapt at the chieftain. Her claws slashed across his body, and he fell. She then leapt at the large gnoll, who had turned to flee, but she bit him, and he fell. The rest of the gnolls, seeing the giant white puma, let alone seeing it kill their chief, turned and fled down the eastern passage, screaming. Tenneth, looking shocked. "I can't believe you showed up. I thought we were all going to die." Everyone bound wounds while Tenneth cast his two Cure Light wound spells on Nightwind and Latiya. Tico. "Hi, Tenneth. Mom said that she felt that something might be wrong, so we came here, and we saw you all enter the cave. We waited at first, since everything seemed fine. Eventually, though, we decided to go inside. Then we heard screaming, and all of a sudden Mom said to jump on her, so I did. You know the rest. I'm sure glad we came. Good thing you went to a cave that was high up in the valley, since we won't go down into the valley. It's not safe. But I guess this cave wasn't very safe either. At least for you it wasn't. Mom can carry everyone who's unconscious back to our tree if we tie them to her. I'm good with rope, or you can just rest here and we'll watch over you." Belfin. "I think we're safe here. I doubt any of them will be coming back, especially after watching a giant white puma kill their chieftain." Tico. "Yes, but I have healing potions back at my tree. I guess we should have brought them with." At the mention of healing potions, the 4 surviving members tied 4 of them to the puma and put John and Jack in the wheelbarrow. It was amazing to watch her carry Lightmane, Nightwind, Latiya, and Shinfia on her back. Seeing her walking through the forest with them all tied to her, laying on her back, was quite a sight. About an hour and a half later, they were back at Tico's tree and they laid everyone inside. Tico had 10 potions, so everyone who was conscious drank one, and amazingly, almost all of their wounds were healed. Of the 5 who were unconscious, Nightwind was in the worst shape, so Tenneth applied healing salve and herbs to everyone, and once he got his spells back, he cast Cure Light wounds on the dwarf and then on Latiya, and she regained consciousness, so she drank a potion, which healed most of her wounds. Not entirely, but pretty good. Lightmane and Shinfia regained consciousness next and drank potions. After more rest and more healing spells, Jack finally regained consciousness, and after another round of rest and spells, John was conscious again. Bill, speaking to John, "I thought you were done for. Glad to see you made it, but Nightwind isn't looking good." Everyone was told all that happened, and then Latia and Tenneth both started tending to Nightwind, who basically looked like the dwarf that they had found almost dead on the road so many days ago. Latia, "There's nothing more we can do. I wish I knew if he was going to make it, but I don't," she said as she started to cry. Tenneth, putting his arm around Latia, "If anyone can survive those injuries, Nightwind can." The party rested until morning, but Nightwind was still unconscious. His heartbeat was faint, and his wounds, though bound, didn't look good. Tenneth, "What if we poured the healing potion on his wounds?" Lightmane, "It won't work. You have to drink it to heal from it. I read about it years ago. It only heals from the inside out. Go figure." Latia, "Tico, we are all in your debt, but right now my focus is on our friend. Does your mom know if there's anything we can do to save Nightwind?" Tico, "I don't know. Maybe you should speak to her again." Latia, "Doesn't she speak to you too?" Tico, "Yes, sometimes, but it's different. What she might say to you is different from what she might say to me. I don't know how to explain it, but if you want to talk to her, she says you can." Latia spent a little time in prayer and meditation while staying by Nightwind's side. Latia, "Nightwind, if you can hear me, I'm going to talk to Latia, the great white puma, again. I'm hoping she can help you. I'm not going to lose you, my friend. I refuse to let you die, so don't you dare die on me, okay? We are all here for you." Latia started to cry now. "We aren't going to go anywhere until you come back to us, so you don't have a choice. You have to come back now. We won't accept no for an answer. Just come back now, so we can head back to the Valley of Caves and go destroy the bugbears next, okay?" Latia got up, walked over to Latia, the great white puma, and cast Speak with Animals. Frost Giant, "Well, what's it gonna be?" Nightwind, looking around at the winter scene he found himself in. "Where am I? What is this place?" Frost Giant, "This is the Glacial Rift. It is my home." Nightwind, continuing to look all around. "Impressive. Where is this located?" Frost Giant, "At the eastern edge of the world, high in the mountains. So are you going to battle me? Are you going to do battle with me, Dwarven Warrior Lord, or are you going to chicken out? Let's go. I'm looking forward to cutting you down in glorious battle." Nightwind, surprised at the giant's words. "Warrior Lord? I'm a Warrior Lord?" Frost Giant, "You don't even know who and what you are? How pathetic. Now stand up and come at me and let's battle while you still have breath in you." Nightwind stood up and looked at himself. His plate mail and shield glistened in the white snow. His warhammer glowed. Around his body, he wore a fur cloak that was clearly magical, as was his armor and shield. On his finger was a magical ring. Strapped to his side was a magical battle axe. On his feet were magical boots, and on his head was a magical great helm. The Dwarven Warrior Lord moved towards the Frost Giant, who now smiled. The Frost Giant swung his 6-foot-long greatsword, but the Dwarven Warrior Lord easily blocked it and brought his magical warhammer into the Frost Giant's leg, damaging him greatly. But the giant mostly ignored it and swung again. This time the mighty Dwarven Warrior Lord ducked and turned and hit the Frost Giant again with his magical warhammer, once again damaging the Frost Giant greatly. And once again the Frost Giant mostly ignored it, though he was bleeding now. This time the Frost Giant's 6-foot greatsword came smashing into the Dwarven Warrior Lord, knocking him down. Nightwind got back up, and they came at each other again. His warhammer hit the Frost Giant, hurting him badly this time, but once again the Frost Giant's 6-foot-long greatsword smashed into the Dwarven Warrior Lord, knocking him down again, And once again, Nightwind rose to his feet and stared down the frost giant. They came at each other. The frost giant swung his great sword again, but Nightwind blocked it again. But this time, the dwarf missed as well. Once again, the frost giant swung his great sword, and once again, the dwarf blocked the attack. But this time, the dwarven warrior lord swung his powerful, magical warhammer, and it smashed into the frost giant. The frost giant, looking at the dwarf, "You have won." The frost giant fell next to the great and powerful dwarven warrior lord, who came and stood next to the now almost dead frost giant. As he lay there dying, he looked up at the powerful dwarven warrior lord and said nothing. Nightwind, kneeling down by the frost giant's face, looked up to the sky and spoke. "My great brother of the ice world has fallen to me in battle. He fought with great bravery and fearlessness that one usually only finds in a dwarf. He is worthy now to enter your hallowed halls." He then looked down at the frost giant, who was still looking at him as he lay dying. "I hope to face you again one day, my brother." Nightwind let out a wail. He then grabbed the 6-foot-long greatsword and laid it across the frost giant's body. He then knelt down again and bowed his head. The frost giant closed his eyes and died. Tenth. "He's awake! Nightwind, here, this is a potion of healing. Drink it." Nightwind could barely move, so Teneth helped him drink it. The potion went to work on his body and started to heal his wounds. The dwarf had finally come back to life. Sheila. "I've never gone adventuring." Bale. "I know. You told me, remember? You did do those battles with the Archmage who trained you, though, so that was kind of adventuring, wasn't it?" Sheila. "No, it was just battling, nothing else. Since I became a goddess, though, I've always wanted to go adventuring, but never have. How would you like to go adventuring?" Bale, looking excited now. "With you? That sounds amazing, but since you can't die, it won't be the same as real adventuring. Besides, where are you going to go adventuring? This is your realm." Sheila. "I've created a scenario where we can go adventuring, but it won't be the same since I can't die? Really? How come?" Bale. "Because part of what makes adventuring great is the fact that you could die at any moment." Sheila. "Really? Knowing you could die makes it great. How interesting. Why does that make it great?" Bale. "Because you're succeeding at something that has real risk. When you fought that beholder with your mentor, he made it so you couldn't die, so you really didn't feel the fear." Sheila. "Oh, I felt fear, for that beholder could hurt us badly, and it did. But yes, there was never any chance that we could die." Sheila thought for a second. "Okay then, how about this? How about I create a situation where we can die? But if that happens, we'll just return here, since I can't actually die." Bale. "I'm confused." Sheila. "I can limit myself. So in our little scenario where we go adventuring, the character that I'd be playing, essentially, can die, as can you." Bale, thinking for a moment. "I think that will work." Sheila. "How about we go adventuring with a few of my friends, too?" Bale. "So you do have friends," he said, smiling. Sheila. "Well, yeah, I do. But you're my best friend now, let alone the only friend that I see every day. I could turn you into a half-elf while we go adventuring." Bale, looking excited, but also confused. "But what about the depression afterwards?" Sheila. "I was thinking about that. You handled it better than I thought you would, so even though you will get depressed, I think you'll be okay. This way, you can adventure as the mage that you are, and I'll limit myself to being just a ranger druid. A ranger druid of the 9th progression, of course. If you get too depressed, we'll just stop going adventuring." Bale. "Wow, you can limit yourself like that?" Sheila. "Sure, for a scenario I can, similar to how my wizard mentor did, so that we couldn't die. But we'll go adventuring too, and not just battle, and we could die. It'll be fun. I've already written out a scenario. Now I just need to modify it somewhat. So, want to go adventuring with me and a few of my friends? They're all ready. We're just waiting to make sure you wanted to come too, she said, smiling. So you want to go? Bale, feeling amazingly excited now. More than you can imagine. Sheila, great! 3 others will be joining us. Sheila looked up and called out, Okay, guys, Bale is coming too. Come on in. We're almost ready to go. Just then, 3 people appeared in Sheila's home. Kurth, the half-orc barbarian necromancer, along with a dwarf wearing armor and a human female who was clearly a cleric. Sheila, Bale, you've already met Kurth, but neither of you have met my other 2 friends. Kurth and Bale, this is Moradin, the dwarven god, and this is Ilana, the human goddess of the forests and woodlands. She and I have become like sisters these days, she said, smiling. Bale and Kurth, shocked at who they were looking at, just fainted. Ilana, I told you they'd faint. Sheila, sighing. You were right. I should have known they'd faint when they saw you 2. Not really sure what I was thinking, she said, smiling. Moradin, laughing. Oh, I can't wait to go adventuring with these 2.